Oh, it's crooked. Okay, here we go. Hi everyone, I'm April, and you're watching The Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is a book edition. All right, so end of May, let's see what we read. Actually, not as much as I would have liked because I'm slow. And I've been really into a crochet pattern, so I haven't really sat down to read a whole lot. Didn't read as much as I wanted to. So let's talk about what I did read. Romance book by J. Sterling. This is the May entry. She's got, like I say, a whole series of one a month. The Spring Second Chance. This follows a young woman. Her name is Spring, and she is engaged to be married, and she lives in a small town in California, like in a small suburban town, and she and her sister run a bakery, and she's engaged to this guy. She's been engaged to him, or been dating him, since they were teenagers. And here they are now, adults, and they're excited to get married. They know everything about each other. They're very comfortable, but she's starting to feel maybe it's not the right thing. Maybe they're only together because that's all they've ever known. And so they break up. And he's heartbroken, but then he kind of thinks about it and is like, you're right. Maybe we should start seeing other people and see where that goes. So when this said Spring's Second Chance, I thought this was going to be, they're both going to go sow their wild oats and then they're going to get back together. That is not what happened. She ends up giving him back the wedding ring, and he's like, I don't want it. And she insists, and he said, well, I'm only going to take it back if you take the honeymoon trip on your own. Still go to Hawaii. So she does, and in Hawaii she meets a very handsome surfer, and they have a connection. And it's a very cute story. He's got issues with an ex, and so he's a little bit nervous, but he can't figure out why he's so drawn to this woman that he just met. He's telling her his whole life story. He can't figure out why he's just ready to bring her into his life when all he ever knew was this other woman. And she's kind of thinking the same thing, but it's a cute little romance, and again, very, very minimal sexy time, but enough. And it's a quick read, and it's fun and engaging. It's a very cute story, and I had a very good time with Spring's Second Chance. So I did finish 2 books for my own May prompt, which was New Mexico authors. It was actually either books set in New Mexico or New Mexico authors. And I chose, because I've got a lot of these books, I chose Roger Zelazny, who lived in Santa Fe for at least 20 years. And I don't have either of these books with me because I've already taken them to the little free library, but Roger Zelazny is known for science fiction. And the first one that I read was Dilvish the Damned. This is it's kind of hard to say that it's a prequel or a sequel because it was published after The Changing Lands, but it follows events before. So chronologically, it's a prequel. But it follows a man named Dilvish, and he had been kind of sent to hell in a way for hundreds of years, and then he finds a way to escape, and now he's on this mission to get that sorcerer who did that to him. And in the other book that I read, Changing Lands, because I was reading them in chronological words, I read them in publication order because I didn't realize, that it was going to be more of a backstory. The second book would be a backstory. So I read Changing Lands first, and that involved this man Dilvish and a few other people going to this castle beyond the Changing Lands to find this sorcerer. And this book, Dilvish the Damned, is what happens when he is resurrected, but before he starts particularly on the quest to the Changing Lands. So I think it's like 11 little short stories that are kind of interconnected, that kind of talk about him trying to find the whereabouts of this sorcerer so that he can seek his revenge. So this is like all leading up to what happens in the Changing Lands. So if you decide that you want to read anything about either of these two, I would suggest maybe reading them in chronological order. So read Dilvish the Damned first and then Changing Lands next, because I think I would have enjoyed both of them more that way, even though I did enjoy both of them regardless. So I had a really good time with Dilvish the Damned. I'm usually not one for short stories, but because it's short stories that are interwoven for an overall arching kind of theme, I had a good time with it. I don't really like separate short stories all in one book, but this one I enjoyed. The other book that I read by Roger Zelazny is called Jack of Shadows. Now, Jack is a thief from the Shadowland, hence the name Jack of Shadows. This is also sort of a vengeance kind of tale, and he is on a planet that is similar to Earth, but it doesn't spin. So one half of the planet is constant day, the other half of the planet is constant night, and that's where he's from. Now the difference between the two, other than the fact that there's daylight in one and not in the other, is in the day side, it's normal. It's a world that we would be familiar with. It's natural and scientific and I guess normal to what we as Earth people would know. Where on the other half, the dark side that never sees any sunlight, that's the Shadow Realm, and there is kind of ruled by sorcery and the supernatural. And so the people in the day side, they live normal finite lives, like it's you live and you die, you're mortal. Where on the dark side, you are not necessarily immortal, but you can keep getting resurrected. I think there's a finite number of times you can be resurrected, but still you're still alive for a very, very, very long time. And that's what happens to him. He gets beheaded by someone, and it takes a while to become resurrected, or not resurrected, but like reborn, or however that works. So it takes a while, but he has all the memories. So when he is back, he's on this hunt for the person who did that to him. And he is also kind of meeting other people along the way who also did him wrong. And every time he takes out his vengeance on each of these people, he's gaining more and more magical or supernatural types of power. And so it's all kind of culminating to get him to this final sorcerer that he's been really, really wanting to get. So it's a very, very fast-paced, fun, fantasy, supernatural kind of story, and I very much enjoyed it. It's quite short. It's less than 150 pages long, I think. So I got through that one really quickly, and these are these three, the two Dilvish books, and then now Jack of Shadows are the only books that I've ever read by Roger Zelazny, but I'm finding that I like his writing, and so I'm excited for that, because I do have a few other short, I think they're standalones that are fantasy, supernatural, science fiction, but I also have a really big one that's called The Book of Amber, and I think that's more young adults, maybe. but it's 9 or 10 novels put together into the one big book. I think it's called The Chronicles of Amber, I think. But I haven't read it, but I'm excited to read it because I am really enjoying Roger Zelazny's work thus far. But we'll see when I get to those, to the Chronicles of Amber. I don't know when, but those were the 2 books that I read for New Mexico authors. Now, the other theme that I had given myself for May was horror, because I know that there are some other people on YouTube who do horror mayhem, and I heard about it from Michael K. Vaughan. And I didn't follow exactly what they do with horror mayhem. They do like short stories, and they do, I think, like at least one a week throughout the month of May. I just picked one story because I had other things that I wanted to read. And the one that I chose was The Boats of Glen Carrig by William Hope Hodgson. And boy, did I enjoy this book. I had a really, really good time with it. It's, I don't remember when it's set. I want to say sometime in the 1800s. But this is an old classic horror story. And this ship gets shipwrecked. They're finding that it's like an island, but not really an island. Like it's not really like ground, like firm earth. It's like sloshy mud and vines and just vegetation. So everything is very spongy to walk on, and it's not stable. And then they can't drink the water because it's all like pond water. It's like there's nothing fresh about it. You can't drink it. But they're trying to figure out how they're gonna survive. They got to get their boat untangled from all of this. They come across another boat that was shipwrecked way before them, and they're going and trying to find provisions on there. But they're also hearing weird sounds, and they think they're being followed. There's weird creatures like huge crabs and all of just weird. There's one that they call the devilfish, and I think it's kind of like a giant squid octopus thing, but they're huge giant creatures. So those are stalking them. Then they've got sounds, and it's almost like haunting voices calling their name to pull them deeper into the main part of this weird island. So it's very, very creepy, and not everybody makes it out. I was surprised. I was actually creeped out by quite a bit of this story. I had a really, really good time with The Boats of Glen Carrig. I do recommend that if you want an old classic horror story. And then there's another YouTuber that I watch from time to time, and her channel is Chantel Reads All Day. And she had put out a theme for May to read a book that has a place name in the title. So I chose this nonfiction book called Dodge City, Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, and the Wickedest Town in the American West. It's history, but it's written in such a way that it feels almost like fiction. It's very easy to read. It's not dry, and it does follow a little bit of Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson, these big Wild West names. But it does also talk a lot about the city itself and how it became, in the middle of Kansas, how it became one of the hubs of the frontier. You know, especially because there was a lot of cattle, and when the Santa Fe Railroad decided to come through there, that really changed things as far as the sale of cattle and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information in here, and I'm not done with it, actually. I still have a little bit left, but it's very, very interesting. I do like to read Westerns from time to time. So this, and I hear these names, and and I've seen movies like Tombstone and all of this stuff, Young Guns and all of that. So these names are a little bit familiar to me, even though I've never really been a history buff, so I couldn't really tell you in depth what a lot of these people did or how they interact or anything. I only know a little bit. And this kind of really, really delved into some of that, particularly with these two people. I recommend this one. It's, if you think you kind of want to learn a little bit about history, but then you're like, oh, it's so boring. This is not written in a boring way at all. Very much enjoying it, and I'm almost done, and I'm happy about that. And that's, let's see, hold that thought. I had notes somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere. Oh, okay. I really don't know what I did with it. I had it it's right in front of my face. Let's see, because I did listen to an audiobook. What We Can Know is by Ian McEwan, and this is set in the 2100s, and they're trying to find history on a poem, kind of a long poem that was written in 2014 or 2016 or something like that. So 100 years old poem. They're trying to find it, and it's a really interesting story in that they're facing the problems that we have when we deal with trying to figure things out from history, because as we know, history is only recorded and kept generation after generation by the most popular version of what happened. There's things that get lost because, again, if it's not the popular version of interpersonal relationships and stories and stuff, those kind of get left by the wayside. There's not a whole lot of historical data saved. So they're having to do a lot of this digging, and it's we find that now, like we can sit there and take all of these literature classes about Shakespeare, and you'll have some instructors telling you this, that, and the other thing, and this is exactly what Shakespeare meant, but was it? We only know what was actually saved. We don't know the full facets, all the facets of a story, because stories are never just one-sided. And so there are a lot of things that went by the wayside, for sure. We just don't know what those are. So now we've got this short-sighted view of what happened, but it's not the full thing. So you got to question, is that really what the author intended? Same thing with music. There are songs that were written maybe just a few decades ago, but they're very vague in their meaning, and we may not have access to the thoughts of the songwriter to know exactly what that song was supposed to convey. But we put our own feelings and our own experiences in our own interpretations. And even things right all the way back to paintings. How do we know what these Renaissance painters meant when they were posing somebody a certain way, or they placed some sort of decoration or something in the background? We can make assumptions based on the historical data that was saved. But is that the full truth? Is that really everything that artist intended? So it's a very interesting book, What We Can Know, in that it does kind of talk about those things, and it gets you kind of thinking, what is it that we actually know? So I really enjoyed that book. And then what else did I listen to? I think that might have been the only one that I was listening to. I was listening to The Strength of the Few by James Islington, but I put that kind of to the side because I can't seem to wrap my head around that one. And I don't think right now, with me trying to focus on complicated knitting patterns and stuff, I'm just not focused on very convoluted stories. So I kind of put The Strength of the Few to the side for now. I'm definitely going back to it soon, but for right now it's a little bit on hold. As far as my ebook, I am about 60% through Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and let me tell you, if there were more hours in a day, I would spend them all reading that book. I am enjoying it. I was not expecting the type of humor that is in that story, because we're basically in one man's thoughts and memories and actions and everything. So there's a lot of inner dialogue, and it's a type of humor that, you know, it's like I could see myself just saying sarcastic things in my head all the time. It's very, very funny to me, some of the thoughts that go through this guy's head. But the story itself is also very interesting. You know, I'm having to find this source of why our sun is losing energy, and having to take a spaceship to go figure it out, knowing that it's probably going to be a suicide mission, and still having the gumption to follow through with these things, knowing that you're probably not going to make it home. I just find that very, very interesting, but it's written in such a way where it's not so heavy, even though it is heavy. Like, I don't know how to say. I'm very much enjoying Project Hail Mary, so I've still got 40% left to do on that one. But that kind of brings us into what I'm going to be reading for June. So I was talking about Westerns with Dodge City, and I decided June, project. Michael K. Vaughan does June on the Range every June, and that is where he reads several short Westerns. And again, I'm not following his way of doing June on the Range, but I am reading a Western. And this is True Grit by Charles Portis. Now, I have seen the two versions that I know of. I don't know if there's other versions, movie adaptations of this, but I have seen the 1969 one with John Wayne, and the other one I think was like 2010 with Jeff Bridges as the lead character. And I loved both of those movies. And so when I found this in a used bookstore for $1.50, I'm like, I'm gonna get it because I really want to read the source material. So this is going to be my Western for June. Now it involves, if you haven't seen the movie or you've never read the book, I know that this follows a 14-year-old girl who's out to find the man who killed her father. But she knows she can't do that on her own. She's trying to find basically like a hired gun kind of thing. It's been a while since I've seen the movies, and this doesn't have any information on the back of the book about what the book's about, so I don't know the name of the characters. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll find out. If I remember to look it up, I'll put the name of the character that she's trying to hire up here. But I'm excited to read this because, like I said, I loved both movie adaptations. So there is True Grit. And then, of course, I've got my next romance in the J. Sterling series. This one is Don't Marry Him, which we all know June tends to be the month where people get married. So this obviously involves a wedding. Now, since the other one that I read was a woman about to get married and then changed her mind, so I'm curious what this one is going to be. Let's see if it says on the back. When love is all you have, how do you protect it from those who want to take it from you? Did somebody cheat? Are they going to get back together? Is the wedding going to happen? I don't know, but I want to find out. So Don't Marry Him is the June installment of this romance. So that's going to be on there. And then I mentioned Chantel Reads a Lot, the channel, and one of her prompts for June was to read a book that has more than five or more words in the title. So I went to my shelves and this is what I found: David Downing's Diary of a Dead Man on Leave. Now this one starts in 1938 in Germany, where a man named Josef stays at like an inn type of situation. He stays or in or a hostel or something like that. He's renting it from this widow. He's staying there. The widow has a son, and sometime 50 years later, the son is cleaning out this building that was used as the inn or the hostel, and he comes across a diary, and it's of this man Josef who was there in 1938, and turns out Josef was a spy. So I guess I'll find out what Josef had to say as a spy. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not really much of a spy kind of person. Like, I don't really get into those types of books. The only other one that I really read was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I think it's called. Is that Le Care? I don't remember the name of the author, but I remember that was a hard one for me to get through. That one was hard for me to get to just because it's a little dry. I think that's why I don't know that I really like spy stuff, because they're not actiony enough for me, and I kind of get bogged down in the political side of it all. It's a whole lot of planning and leading up to things, and there's not a whole lot of action, so I don't really get into spy stuff for that reason. Although for some strange reason a while back I did get all of the 007 books. I haven't read them yet, but I'm hoping that there's more action in those. And I do know why I got those, because I love the movies, so I'm hoping that they are as interesting as the movies. But I didn't really get into the book for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but I liked that movie, even though it's, what is it, in the 70s, I think? I really enjoyed that. So I think it's, I don't know, it's kind of hit or miss, but I'm hoping that this one is not quite as dry or overly political. We'll see. We shall see. I don't know. I hope that I enjoy it. I don't know. It's going to be a mystery for me. I mean, the book's not a mystery, but it's a mystery whether or not I'm going to like it. Anyways, I'm starting to ramble. Let's move on. As far as audiobooks, I want to I want to listen to Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. R.F. Kuang and I are not the best of friends. I don't think I've enjoyed any of the books that I've listened by her. The Poppy Wars, I got through the first 2 books grudgingly, and I DNF'd the second book almost immediately. I mean, the third book almost immediately. And Babel, I think I got through more than half of that one before I just kind of got bored. Hopefully, Catabasis is the one. Now, from what I understand, Catabasis is basically 2 college students who somehow go into hell to save their professor's soul. So that sounds kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how that plays out. I don't know why, I really want to like R.F. Kuang and her work. For some reason, I haven't really connected with the ones that I've tried so far, so maybe this is the one. Who knows? But I'm gonna try it. And then after that, I'll probably get back into The Strength of the Few by James Islington, because I'm about halfway through that one. We shall see. But yeah, that's about it as far as what I've got planned for June and what I did finish in May. Let me know what your reading plans are, and if you have any anything specific like themes or anything that you do from time to time? Do you have different themes for the month, or do you just read in the moment? You just kind of pick? Do you make plans? Do you make TBR lists? Are you a person who allows yourself to DNF books, or do you grudgingly finish something even though you don't like it? I'd really like to know these things. And I do appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me, and I will see you again next time. Bye.